Welcome to Sikorski's Think Abouts, and I'm your host, Laura Sikorski. My guests and I share our operations and technology expertise to help you provide outstanding customer service and customer experiences. Our topic today is going to be really discussing strategies in contact centers, and the biggest one is establishing the right measurements to use. And I'm so excited about our return guest. He is Brad Cleveland. I'm sure many of you have recognized him on the monitor. And a little bit about Brad. He is a very good friend of mine since 1988. I can't believe that it's been so long. But we are business colleagues since then. And he's coming to us today via Skype from Sun Valley, Idaho. Last time we had, you did the camera and we were looking at people skiing, I think, is the last time. Brad has worked, I cannot believe this, in over 45 states and 60 countries. His clients are probably in the thousands at this point, but and I'm just going to do the first few that I know of, and that's American Express, Apple, Coca-Cola, USAA, and of course HP. He's written 8 books, but the book I like the best is this one. It's the 3rd edition of Call Center Management on Fast Forward. And this book is like the Bible of our contact center industry. So if you don't have it, it's a big one, but it's a great reference book on our industry. He has appeared in different media ranging from the Wall Street Journal to the New York Times. He's spoken on NPR and of course has written articles in the in-flight programs for many of our airlines. He was one of the initial partners of the incoming Customer Management Institute and was their former president and CEO until he sold it to a London-based company, United Business Media. He has 2012's, and I'm going to keep going because you deserve the recognition, ICMI's, you're welcome, inaugural Lifetime Achievement Award for our industry, and he certainly is globally known as one of the foremost experts in customer strategy and management. So welcome to my friend Brad Cleveland. So,
thanks so much. I have to try to live up to all that now, but thanks.
Oh, you always do. Don't worry about it. You always do a great job. So, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to discuss the right measurements in call centers. We measure everything. Let's face it. From talk time to how long after call work is, and then we do Net Promoter Score. And at this point, many times I'm faced with, and you're faced with, what the heck do we do? I think that's the issue. So, do you feel, in your opinion, that contact centers are measuring the right things?
Well, it's a great question. What I've observed is that most contact centers are measuring many, many things. They may have some good things in there, but there's this propensity to measure more. Someone sees a need for this, or there's a gap here, a project or this or that would require a measure, and it gets baked in, and after a while we've got so many things we're trying to look at, and so yeah, there's some good things that might be in there, but the problem is that we don't have, in many cases, the robust efforts to cull down all those measures and metrics we've added, and so we end up with a lot of clutter, and ultimately it's how we use them, what we're focused on and how we use them. So the answer is a qualified yes. There may be some good ones in there, but we have to sort through the clutter and get to the things that really matter.
Well, I know sometimes when I go into a call center and I see the management reports that they are preparing, I mean, they have one body on staff that does nothing but reports. And I mean, truly, I'm not saying it's a waste of time, but I'm saying, guys, you've got to measure the right things. So with that, what do you think, Brad, should be what every contact center should measure, should have in place?
So that's a great question. And first, just to note, you ultimately need to establish measures and objectives that are right for your organization, your customers. Cookie cutter approaches don't work, so I just want to preface these comments with that. Build a customer access strategy that reflects how you want to serve your customers and channels you're rolling out and that sort of thing, and build the measures that are right. That said, we see that there are 7 key categories of measures that should be in place in any contact center, and I want to just kind of talk through them quickly, and I'll order them from tactical to strategic, because they really build on each other. They really build that way. So forecast accuracy, and that may sound really in the weeds, very tactical, but it is so fundamental. If you don't have a good picture of the work coming your way, how do you manage the environment? So first thing, forecast accuracy. Every contact center needs that as a fundamental measure in place. And by the way, as I talk through these, you might want to do for those listening, maybe do a quick inventory. Have a sheet of paper and draw a vertical line, and down one side, maybe just jot these in and just kind of do a quick inventory of what your organization has and where you might want to strengthen things. So second major category of measure should be schedule fit. If you've got a good handle on workload and you can build accurate forecasts, and you can absolutely schedule around that. And every contact center needs schedule fit, schedule adherence. A third category of measure then is service level. If customer contacts don't get to the right place at the right time, little else can happen. So establish service level, and really it's just going to fall out. It's not something you manage per se. You're forecasting, you're managing how well you match resources to that forecast, and then service level tends to happen. Up the list, one more notch, is quality, and by extension, first contact resolution. You'll hear the term first conversation resolution. You can tweak any of these terms for social media and various channels that you're handling. But quality is the link between contact by contact activities and the organization's most important objectives. So we've got to have robust measures of quality. And first contact resolution then is an extension of quality. It's a tangible result of getting it right. The next few are going to be no surprise. Employee satisfaction, fifth thing, and again, thinking up the list here to one more notch towards the strategy level. Employee satisfaction clearly influences and really even drives things like customer satisfaction, things like productivity, retention. These often have a positive correlation to agent satisfaction. Customer satisfaction is number 6, and really it has its greatest value as a relative measure in conjunction with other objectives. As you make changes, how does that impact customer satisfaction? We're seeing more robust measures around Net Promoter Score, customer effort score. You can take customer satisfaction and put a more powerful lens on it, but have a baseline. And finally, the strategic value. What does the contact center contribute to research and development and improving products and services and processes? What are we learning that can really improve things across the board? So there's no report that comes out of a system for that one, but it's really reflected in samples that we take of how we're impacting those things that are most important. Other measures should be driven by your specific objectives. If you're a sales environment, you're going to look at revenue. If you're tech support, you're probably going to look at call prevention.
Okay, Brad.
Every contact center should have those 7 categories in place.
Brad, if I can interrupt, we're going to take a short break. We also need to double check our internet connection. You see our audience, it just popped up on the screen. But I will recap when we come back after the break about the 7 measurements that you should have. See you in a few minutes.
Hi, I'm Tim Stead. I'm from Star Communications. We're a marketing support company. And if you need help with your next marketing project, please call 273-1900, or you can go to our website, starcommunications.us.
Welcome back to Sikorski's Think Abouts, and joining me this morning is Brad Cleveland from Sun Valley, Idaho. And I want to recap for all of you the measures that Brad was talking about that every contact center, call center should have in place. And they were forecast accuracy, schedule fit, service level, quality, employee satisfaction, customer satisfaction, and strategic value. And I'm sure many of you saw that we had an internet problem and a connection problem. So Brad, if you could just review strategic value again as a measure.
Yeah, you bet. So strategic value, the further you go towards strategy, the less likely you're going to have reports just come out of a system. So strategic value is really samples that we're taking on the impact that we're having on, or how are we helping improve products and services and processes? What are we learning in the course of handling these interactions that we could use across the broader organization? That's what we're really talking about.
Perfect. And that's a great, it isn't very important. What are you learning from monitoring? What are you learning about your business operation that needs to improve? So with that, we have another question for Brad. I assume that you can run into same issues when interpreting specific operational reports, like service level or that forecast accuracy you mentioned. What is that interpretation issue?
Well, when we're looking at operational reports, it's very important to understand the time frame. So if we average across too large a period of time, say the service level, for example, we may have customers languishing in queue in the morning, so we keep agents sitting there waiting for contacts in the afternoon when the workload slows down and every call gets right through, and you report an average, and it looks great. It looks like you found a perfect balance, but
Right.
That's just not the case. So it's much better to look at intervals when we're looking at this operational data. What percent of the time were we within, plus or minus X percent of our objective, and then maybe plus 5%, plus 10%, plus 15%, minus 5, minus 10, minus 15. When we're looking at more strategic measures, we've really got to understand where that data comes from, how we're taking samples, and how we're using it. So interpretation's key. There's that old saying that what gets measured gets managed, and that's really an oversimplification.
But, and many of you out there use averages, and people say to me, look how good I did today. And I'll say, yeah, but look at what happened between 10 and 11. Look at what happened between 3 and 4. You're not scheduling correctly. And, I get a kind of a blank scare, but they say, well, management likes to see averages. And I say, well, yes, management can do that, but you're in charge of operating a successful center and using your people correctly. So, folks out there, you really need to look at your how you are measuring. Another question, it's hot today. Everybody's talking about Net Promoter Score and customer effort. What's your thoughts on these two?
So I feel like this whole discussion's a little bit like having a discussion on investing. The big question is, are you investing in good times and maybe rocky times? Are you staying with it? So the parallel is, do you have one of these measures in place? Customer sat, Net Promoter Score, customer effort. Do you have something as a baseline? Start there. Now, beyond that, we can get more specific. I like customer effort. I think the work that's going into that measure and the research around it is really illustrating that it's a good predictor of customer loyalty. The advantage of Net Promoter Score, and I like it as well, is there's such a large body of research out there that you can compare yourself to others in your sector and in other sectors and see how you're doing. So we're not seeing most leading organizations just completely leave Net Promoter Score behind for customer effort score or something along those lines. We're seeing efforts to put them side by side and say what's really indicative of our customers' perception on our service and what's really helping us make improvements.
Well, and I also was reading an article recently, and they talked about customer advocacy, and I equate that to customer effort, and particularly having a customer with you on your board, asking them questions about how they perceive a new product or a new policy or a new service. And I always stress you got to think like a customer. And so if you are really measuring that customer effort, have the customer there and talk to them about it, because powers in the ivory tower always make believe. They think, oh, we know what they want, we know what customers want, and then they just kind of totally miss the mark. And with that, the end result, you got to make sure you're measuring the right things. However, what are the business results that companies should be after they get all these measurements?
Well, that's really the most probably important question so far. What are we really trying to accomplish? Think of things like brand reputation and trust, market share, of course, revenue and profitability and innovation, those things that really reflect the larger things that we want to have happen as an organization. That's ultimately what these things ought to roll up to. We're making a difference with those things.
Well, and I totally agree. And as part of our end discussion, or our think-abouts, if you will, what do you suggest that our audience, maybe suggest 2 think-abouts of our discussion that folks can use right away? What should they do right after listening to our show this morning?
Take an inventory of those 7 categories and make sure you've got all of those in place. And then take an inventory of what you can eliminate, at least the information that's reported that may be glazing everybody over because there's just too much there. See if you can really clean house and get down to those things that matter the most.
Okay, well, perfect. Brad, I want to thank you so much for a great show today. We didn't have any problems with our internet connection on the second half. So with that, thank you to the internet gods up there. And I'd like to give some information about Brad. His Twitter account is @BradCleveland. And his email is brad@bradcleveland.com, and his website is bradcleveland.com. Now, certainly to reach me, you can do so on Twitter @Laura Sikorski, and my cell number to reach me is 631-624-6650. And would certainly like to thank Corinne Caro, the founder and CEO of Blue Chip Marketing, and the division of the Daily Blue actually is a division of that company, and that's our network that we use every day. So I also want to thank Sam, our videographer. She did a great job today, and certainly if you would like to be a host, or you would like to contact Blue Chip Marketing, or if you would like to get a commercial on the Daily Blue, contact them at 631-761-9223. And with that, I'd like to thank everyone so much for clicking in, and have a perfect day.